get it fixed up and help you.
I know how to do all this stuff. Jim, you don't need Jim. I know how to do it everything. That's why I went to Sire to learn it all.
We're probably ready to go.
Okay. Calling to order the regularly scheduled meeting, March 15th meeting for the Sylvania Township Board of Trustees.
Call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Here.
Mr. Haddad?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney? Here.
I would say you're better off looking at us, Dave, so you see who's here.
All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval of the minutes.
We have the regular meeting for March 1st before the board.
I didn't see anything.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Mahoney and Mr. Genowine. Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Okay. Any additions or deletions from the agenda? I would like to add that the Lucas County Auditor's Office is here, and they will be available in our lobby to answer questions, but I believe they're also going to speak here before the public during our open mic session.
I would like to add on the, I think we should probably put that under Public Works, the continuing discussion about the stormwater utility, because we have another meeting next week, so since we have a good crowd, people can hear about that thing coming up.
Okay. If that's it, I would like to shuffle the agenda a little bit so we can accommodate some of the people in the audience. We'll go to the police for the citizen accommodations.
Yes, Chief, if you'd like to come up and... Tonight, the Sylvania Township Police Department would like to recognize three fine members of our community who also happen to, all three of them work for Sylvania Schools, which is kind of coincidental because I was talking to Dr. Rieger this morning on some things. So if Julie Engel, Jennifer Almenius, and Carrie Sowers will step forward, please. Step over here so you can put the pressure on so you can face the crowd. Back on January the 8th of this year, we had one of our police officers, in fact, one of our rookie officers, who unfortunately with the very bad road conditions that night and such, was responding to a backup, request for backup at a domestic violence, and was traveling northbound up Whiteford Road, right by the greenhouse just south of Monroe Street, and unfortunately, with the bad road conditions and such, lost control of the car, went off the left side of the road and was involved in a very bad accident. I'm happy to report that she wasn't injured severely at the scene. However, you wouldn't know that by looking at the police car. I got a phone call that night, right after it happened, from the sergeant on duty, and he was actually pretty rattled himself, and believe me, when I went to the hospital to visit the officer first, and then found out she was okay, responded to the scene, and I can tell you that even sometime after the crash, it was very chaotic. The police car ended up into a utility pole. It knocked down electrical wires. It was a very bad, very chaotic scene. And Julie and Jennifer and Carrie, thank goodness, happened to actually, from a distance, see the accident, see the car go off the road, and was there to get out of their car and respond to the police officer, who was, as you can well imagine, pretty dazed and confused with the impact and getting banged around inside the police car there. So they assisted her in getting her safely away from the downed wires and getting her across the street to a safe place, and helping her to understand and take care of her as far as what happened until we had other police officers and the paramedics responded. So with their effort, I would like to just recognize Jennifer with a plaque that basically, it's a citizen commendation, and it recognizes Jennifer's actions that night in helping to save the police officer and assist our police department. And Julie, thank you. And Carrie. And I'm sure Dr. Reeder is very proud of you. That's all I have for.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, hearing of the public. Do we have anybody signed in?
Let's go, let's go.
If it's going to be on the garbage program, why don't we wait till that, get to that title?
Let's bring that up first.
You want to
We've
do
got
that?
a lot of
That's
people. Okay. Dick Moses?
I'll hold my comments.
Okay. RG Kappas? Chuck Hind?
Come up to the podium. I'd like to hear what the proposal is on the waste disposal. I looked on the website, I didn't see it on there. And seeing this is the third meeting I've attended in the last 4 years on this, I'd like to know what it is, and then I'd like to make my comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's up to Mr. Genowine when he wants to just meet up, speak on that.
Well, let's go through everybody listed here.
Okay.
And then we can bring it up, and you can discuss it, and then we'll take it to a vote at that time. And I guess if people want to talk, they can talk at the end of the meeting as well. Doug Beat?
Three minutes, sir.
My name's Doug Beat, and the reason for my coming here tonight is the proposal or resolution you have on the agenda tonight to vote for. I believe it's 11-044. I too have been coming to these meetings for about 4 years, as Mr. Hind has. I'm getting a little tired of having to come and defend the rights of myself and the residents of Sylvania Township when it comes to our trash collection. It is not the purpose of the Sylvania Township to be involved with trash collection. I look at my tax bill, and it looks like you're concerned with roads, police, fire, and I'm sorry to see Mr. Haddad just left because I had a few comments for him. Could someone go see what's going on and bring him back? Thank you.
Who's next?
The purpose of the township, as I just explained, is to be concerned with the police, fire, roads, and not the trash collection. Having been here, I think this is the third time, I told you I'm getting tired of it, trying to defend the freedom that we have here to have a choice. I know Mr. Haddad said this new resolution he's trying to push through, it's an opt-in. But as I tried to find more information out about this resolution, all I could find is that the terms and conditions were to be negotiated at a later date. Friday, Neil Mahoney was able to share with me the proposal from Allied. And as I read through it, I found some other information out that you had not told us February 1st at that general meeting. And that information is, if I'm quoting it correctly, that if the main carrier is selected by the majority, they get to pick the day that all the garbage trucks get to collect. And it would indicate that it's limiting it to one day, and that's the choice of the main carrier. This is a restriction of commerce. If you are going to allow people to pick the days that you're allowed to have commerce conducted on the streets of Sylvania Township, that's wrong. And I'm a little embarrassed to even be here to have to tell you that it's wrong. Mr. Haddad, you're using your elected position, this bully pulpit that you have, to push your agenda. And your agenda has nothing to do with the Sylvania Township and the running of it.
Doug, your 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Well, let's give him a little bit more time. I mean,
Well, we made a rule that we're going to keep it to 3 minutes.
okay.
That's up to you.
He did wait while you left the room.
I know, and I gave him an extra 30 seconds. I timed it.
I'd like to hear him talk a little bit more if we can.
Go ahead.
We've
Thank
only
you.
got one other speaker, so
Okay,
please
fine, that's
go
fine.
ahead.
Go ahead, Doug.
I'll be with you in just a moment. It was only because of the Blade article published possibly about a week ago that I even know that there was a resolution here in Sylvania Township to have an opt-in collection. I have a comment to all you trustees. You're not communicating very well with us. And when you go to have a resolution, you need to have all the evidence, all the proposals, all the bids online so we can look at them. Tonight, I hope that when you vote for Resolution 11044, that you all vote no. And I'd like the trustees to find some way that you can put this to bed so that we're not spending good time. This takes time from my work. It takes time from being productive to have to come and defend the rights of a free system that we have, a system that works, a system that has competition, just for a chance to have one carrier at possibly a few dollars savings. If you force out the competition for a few dollars of savings, a few years later, you won't have anyone to compete against him and he'll be able to charge whatever he wants. As it is now, if you have 2 bags, you can pay for someone to haul 2 bags. If you want every other week, you can have every other week. If you want a can, have a can. The people of Sylvania Township are owed something better than what you have brought forth at this time, Mr. Haddad. And I would hope that if you're thinking about putting this on a November ballot with an election, I would hope the other 2 trustees can say, you can get as many votes as you want, but we're not going to allow it to go through. So I'd hope that we can head you off at the pass. I thank you for extending my time to make these comments. If you'd like any other comments, you can get in touch with me. Thank you very much.
Who's
Yes.
next?
Daniel Zimmerman?
I knew Dan would be speaking.
I'm Daniel Zimmerman, resident of Sylvania Township, residing at 6012 Whiteford Road for the last 62 years. Like the previous gentleman, I'm also ill actually sick and tired of having to continue to address this article. It actually had started back in the area of former trustee Therese, and at that time it was overwhelmingly, as what we thought also this past year at that meeting, overwhelmingly opposed to. Gentlemen, we know how to blow our own noses and wipe them. We don't have to be chosen and told or dictated or given the option of who can pick up our trash. The article that was mentioned in the Blade, it was in by trustee Haddad, and then there it mentions that perhaps we could even salvage or pay through the recycling of articles. About the only thing that has any value at all in our homes is actually aluminum cans. A 12-ounce aluminum can currently has a value of approximately 0.09 cents. That would be 1,600 cans consumed if you actually had to take and turn them in. That's a little over 5 a day. Most of us, I don't think, consume that amount of cans and or any practical usage for plastics and so forth. Gentlemen, we do not need, again, to be told what and where to breathe in and out. We're capable, and one of the reasons that we choose to be living in the township, because of the lesser government is a better government.
Thank you. Is proper procedure to call for bring it to motion and then have discussion and then, okay.
Why don't we just let the resolution sit? Let me explain what's going on.
I think, isn't
If you want to make a motion,
I would like to offer resolution number 11-044, accept proposal for refuse and recycling collection and disposal.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Okay. I'll begin very briefly. How many people are, even together, just homeowners here? That if you're with your spouse, just one person, raise your hand. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 homeowners here. How many are for the proposal? 4 out of 21. Who wants to have garbage and recycling at their house from this proposal? So I have one person that's out of it, so 20 against it? Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Now, I'm going to start out briefly with explaining this thing. 5 years ago, I bought my diesel truck, and I was paying $3 a gallon for diesel fuel, $2.89. Diesel went up to $4 that year, and I said, what am I going to do? I can't afford to pay $140 for a tank of fuel. So I reviewed on the internet, and I found out how much cheaper it was if I made it myself out of vegetable oil. So I went out and started making my own diesel fuel. Cost me less than $1 a gallon. Yeah, I'm tight, I saved the money. First time I put solar heat on my pool. I said, I'll try something new and different. It works. I don't spend $500, $600 a year heating my pool anymore. When I looked at garbage and recycling, I saw how many trucks are down our street. Mr. Mahoney can testify. We have 4 days of collection of garbage every day down our street. Winds blowing 30 miles an hour with the recyclables. They're blown through the whole neighborhood. Yeah, this was one of my pet peeves that I got tired of, and I got tired of hearing trucks at 6 in the morning every day in the summer when I could sleep in a couple hours. And it got to be a little bit to the point of where I was aggravated. So I said, okay, let's look into doing this, because 2 other administrations have attempted this and it's failed. Mr. Beat made a good point. Yes, it's failed. Mr. Zimmerman made a good point. He didn't want it either. Together, collectively, we represent probably less than 0.1% of the township. So when I take the other 10,000 homes in consideration, and I look at what's going on, we looked at every aspect of what needed to be done and what people asked to be done. Mr. Genowine himself, Mr. Beat himself has asked me to get an opt-in system or an opt-out system, so therefore we're not forced to do this. I might consider doing this if that was to happen. So I did. I talked to the prosecutor's office because they're now our legal counsel. We had 2 proposals only at the time. The second proposal said they can't compete, they just wanted to drop out. Allied Waste gave us a proposal that was a good proposal. Then when he said that we needed to have 5% opt-out, which is 550 households opt-out. If they opted out, he couldn't afford to do it at that price. If we pass this resolution tonight, all it's going to do is put the pressure on Allied to sell it to you. If you call 500 homes and tell them to opt out, the deal's dead and we don't have to ever look at this again. I promise you, I won't even bring up garbage and recycling ever again. But if less than 500 opt out, then they have the right to sit there and sell this product, invest in the $2 million in equipment, get the township going, and it'll be a change. People do not like change. The first time I threw that diesel oil in my truck, I was driving down the road and I stalled. And I freaked out. I said, what am I going to do? And then it took me about 6 months to go through that, and it was winter. And winter was the worst part to make diesel fuel. Now I have no problems at all. I change it regularly, and I'm used to it, and I like it. People do not like change. This is change for our community. We're the second largest entity in Lucas County. And it's a change. But we're running low on road funds. So I looked at how much money we're going to have to invest in roads in a couple years. Am I going to go back to you? Because I know half of you don't want to pass a school levy right now. So I can't say to you, we need more road money, so we need to put a levy on, and you're going to say, well, we don't have the money for that. So after I looked at all that, and then Mr. B brought up a point, you're going to tell me what day my garbage is picked up. We're telling you what day your leaves are going to be picked up. Your leaves have to be picked up when Greg said he's coming by to pick them up. Everybody's calling me now. When are we picking up the debris from the storm? I didn't create the storm. Next week we're starting our collection for the branches and debris. It's going to be starting to pick up. We're going to control dates. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to be not picking up Christmas trees this year. We don't have it in the budget. We can't afford it. So if you buy them or bring them home, you're going to have to take them over to Cleanwood yourself and pay to get rid of them. I apologize, but we're looking at those things to save money because we are low on cash. And as for our duties as trustees, I have the Ohio Revised Code. I wanted to bring it to show it to you. We are supposed to be responsible for 3 things: police, fire, garbage. 55.27. 505, I mean, .27. Specifically states garbage and waste disposal. To not get in this, we did not create a solid waste district. We did not create a garbage district. If we would have created a garbage district, we only have 1 carrier. We're forced to comply with that, and we're forced to put regulations on you. I did not want to do that. I wanted to give you an opportunity to pick what you wanted. If you got a guy, you're paying $80. If you're doing like me and John, we take it to work and dump it off. And I'll tell you right now, though, I would opt in because I'm tired of putting the recyclables in my truck, running them to Kroger's every week, and in the summertime, smelling the stench that it creates. And it's a cleaner environment for these kids for the future. And I tell you what, my daughter asked me to do that when I was younger, and I told her, I said, I'm not recycling, and now I'm a recycle fiend, okay? And as for Mr. Zimmerman's quote, if the shirt's 100% cotton, you're right. Plastics are just thrown away. If it's not, plastic bottles make part of your shirts up. Everybody doesn't know that? Where do they get polyester from? It's plastic. It comes from petroleum byproducts. Ford uses corn byproducts to make plastics for their car. Does anybody know that? That's how much I researched all this stuff. And if we do enter this contract, when I first took office, the Stanley brothers offered us a place to dump our recyclables and give us a 10% profit, whatever they sell the recyclables for, to the township for the general fund. And I said I would talk to the other 2 trustees if we did get into something like this and ask for 15% to come back to the road fund so I don't have to ask you for any more tax money. That's what I looked at. And if they want to kill this tonight, and if it's voted no, I'm done with it. I'll never bother it again. In 6 months, if the county... And I'll tell you what, in 6 months, if the county comes in 6 months and forces us down our throats, they'll come back to say to me, what can we do about it? Because when I talk about the stormwater thing, you guys are going to really be shocked, and I'll bring that up in a bit. So I'm done. Anybody have any questions? I'll answer them.
I have one quick comment.
Come up here. Go ahead.
Can I stand here?
Yes.
Yes.
When you were doing your heating your pool, and you were making your own fuel, who forced you to do it?
Me.
That's right. That's all I should say.
Now that I understand what
you deferred till now, that's fine.
I like most people, and probably most people don't know we're even having this meeting tonight about what's going on.
Correct.
So you say the other 10,000 homes. That's a good comment, but the other 10,000 homes, probably 90% of them didn't see that it was in the article. My wife saw it on TV last night. The last time we were here, the parting comment was, I will go out and get 1,800 or whatever the amount of signatures needed, we'll put it on a ballot and that'll be the end of it. That isn't quite what happened.
I didn't want to do that.
Well,
Because if I
why did you
do
tell
that, we
us?
have one vote over that we have to do it. I don't want to force this on anybody's throat.
Why did you tell us that's what you would do, and now you're changing it?
Because Doug asked me to get an opt-out system.
And then what are you gonna do if the opt-out system doesn't
I'm
go?
done.
Are
I
you
said I'm
coming
done.
back again?
Tonight, you won't hear
Well,
from me again. I said on the record.
that's what you said last time.
No, I
You wouldn't
didn't.
hear
I
from
said
us.
on the record, I will not bring it up ever again.
No,
Right
I-
now.
On the record now, last meeting, it wasn't on the record? Is that it?
No, last meeting was an open discussion. It wasn't on the record. No, we
Oh,
did not have a
okay,
meeting
so
for
if it's
that.
not on the record,
No.
we can lie. If it's on the record,
No, it wasn't a
we can't.
lie.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, for the record, Mr. Haddad, I certainly appreciate the time and energy you've spent on this issue. As a board, I think it's our duty to be willing and open to new ideas and things. Certainly, the feedback I've gotten from the community has all been against this proposal.
I've had 10 of them too.
And one of the main faults I see with this, two main faults, is the communication with it, and that is one of my top priorities for the board and for the township to better communicate with the citizens. And I apologize for people who were just learning of this within the last day or two and rearranged your schedules to be here. We are working on that, and we hope to improve that as quick as we can. Second problem I saw with this resolution is the pretty much impossible goal or number of residents needed to make this effective. So, I mean, I guarantee you that there's more than 5% of the township's population that does something other than have a waste hauler pick it up. So, I just think there's going to be a lot of confusion and a lot of upset people if we go through this process and let them sign up for the service only to be notified 30 days, 60 days, 90 days later that it's no longer in effect. So I think there's a lot of confusion that could come down the road. But I think most people who read your proposal, Kevin, and see what it includes are very impressed with the amount of services and the price they get. So, I mean, if there's any way to, on a private side of things, drive business to this, I certainly would suggest that strongly. But in terms of a board, let's take this to vote now and see where it goes.
What, do you want, where's Paul? Paul still here? From Allied? There he is. You want to have any comments to say before we make our vote?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. From Allied Waste Services' point of view, we initially responded to a request for proposal that was sought by the Board of Trustees. We put our best foot forward. I definitely understand and have listened to now, I think this is my fourth meeting where this issue has been discussed in forum. Fifth, actually. So our response and our hope was just to be responsive and provide the services that we thought, well, that were being requested. I think and I know that we have a good product. We were, the advantage of getting a high commitment allows us to get more efficient, to get more homes per hour, to be fully automated. No longer would we have drivers, putting their backs and their arms and shoulders at risk. This would have been a move to a fully automated system. So, and without the economics of what I think was a very fair offer of just limiting the days of the week, We never asked there was never ever a full franchise granted or asked for. But we do appreciate the business that we have in the subscription market in Sylvania Township, and we will stay here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
We call the vote.
Yep.
Mr. Mahoney.
No.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
No.
Okay, it's done. You have your about again. Goodbye. Thanks.
John, can I just make one comment with
Yes.
Paul? Paul, I'm sorry, I should have said something. I want to thank you for your effort, too, through
Yes.
this whole process, and your company, and, you know, doing what you could. So thank you for your help, too. We appreciate it.
Moving back to the regular agenda will be,
Yes.
the zoning department's February monthly report.
Good evening. For February, we had 15 building permits issued for a total of $924,000. Total year-to-date, 40 permits, $3 million. We've had 4 housing starts, 2 each month. No zoning violations in February. The snow is melted and the grass is growing, though, I get a feeling, so it's coming soon. That's really all I have in regards to what's going on in the zoning department. If you would like to talk at all about the windmills and that meeting, I did have a piece of information passed on to me today. I thought it was Riga Township, but it ended up being Ogden Township that put a 6-month moratorium on a decision. They are discussing, though, an overlay based on some of the input that they received at the meeting.
That was positive news there, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Did we want to give the auditor a chance to say a few words and let them know that they're available?
They just wanted us to make the announcement that they're out there, that anybody that has any questions about your appraised value of your house or any information that you want from the auditor, they're out there and they're hooked to the internet, and they pull up your parcel and give you any information you need, and they'll be there during our meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Right?
Good evening. I have a couple of housekeeping items in front of the board, recommending Resolution 11-045. This is a piece of information mandated by the Ohio Public Works Commission to appoint a CEO for our projects coming up. And that individual is typically our administrator, Mr. Zeitler. So therefore, the resolution is before you.
I'd like to offer Resolution 11-045, making Sylvania Township Administrator John Zeitler the project CEO for our road and bridge contracts.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yep.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is to discuss the spring cleanup. As we know, we've had a pretty harsh winter, actually, and with the ice storm a few weeks ago, I recommend to the board that we move up the spring cleanup date. Typically, this is the third Monday in April. This year, April 18. I recommend that we move that up to April 4th. This will help provide relief to the residents, and we can get a jump start on this cleanup. It will take several weeks to go through the township, but an earlier date is in order, I believe.
I think you should start that sooner.
Greg, is there a way, speaking of communications, is there a way that we'll be able to get to the public, can you maybe let us know some of the channels that everybody would know that they're going to be notified, or how that might happen?
Yes, actually, the Blade, Neighbors Edition, and the Sylvania Herald are ready to receive this notification for public service announcement in their papers respectively, and we could place this on our website for starters.
Dave will probably put that in the Blade for us too, won't you, Dave?
Well, I think what he was referring to is
intersection,
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, I think you should move it up because with this, people have been calling when they're gonna get their brush picked up.
Yes.
We've got some nice weather coming, so people will probably start cleaning up.
Yes, sir. My last item is Resolution 11-046. This is to award the bid and enter into contract for the 2011 resurfacing project Phase 1 to Gherkin Paving Incorporated of the amount of $314,674.60. The county estimate was $360,000. We received a very good bid here. This is part of the Ohio Public Works Commission. We are very fortunate to capitalize on 49% grant money, so we only have to show a 51% local share. A lot of communities in our nation are in such desperate financial troubles to forfeit even the local shares. We are very fortunate. So,
I'll offer Resolution 11-046, award bid under contract for 2011 resurfacing project, and dispensing with the second reading.
I'll second.
What project was this for?
the road resurfacing Phase 1.
We talked about.
Okay.
Okay, call the roll. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Hey, Greg, nice job getting that grant, too.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
At this time, the trustees mentioned earlier that they'd like to talk under Public Works for the stormwater.
Yes. For many of you, I'm glad you stayed around because now the county is going to enact, I guess, a tax on us for stormwater. I went to the meeting and spoke on that I'm vehemently against that totally. The reason I was against that is because it's going to create a bill of $60 annually to begin with on your tax records. That's not including people who have commercial properties and roofs that don't comply with their stormwater and the EPA records. That's going to be costing you an additional. In the case of Myers, we calculated it to be $16,000 a year. So imagine your property, what it's going to cost you, anywhere from $2,000, $3,000. It's going to generate a total sum of over $3 to $4 million the first year. And in the last years, after the fifth year, it'll be up to like $7 million. Our share will start out at $500,000 to $600,000 just for the residents and work its way up to almost $1 million just for the residents. We will not benefit 100% from that stormwater utility because they will be able to use our money out in Providence, Harding, Spencer, Ridgefield, all those areas, and we will only get the projects when the engineer's office allows us to have the money in this area, 10 Mile Creek and those areas. If they don't feel it's blocked enough, we're not going to get any funds, and it's under the engineer's discretion, and it's going to create 3 more county jobs, which I'm totally opposed of, because if that's the case, I'd rather charge $60 to our residents to put in our road fund and take care of our own problems here and forget everybody else. So that's where I'm with you guys on this, that it's going to be another tax that we just can't afford, and we're going to be all stuck with it, and a lot of us won't receive any of the benefits of it. I just want to give that as public information. There's another meeting this week that I'm going to go to on it on Thursday.
Mr. Zeitler, are you aware where the county's at with this proposal, or what's?
I am, yes, I've worked with them on it, and I still am actively involved with it.
It's still in the proposal stage?
15th is the vote on it, April 15th.
They'll be voting on it April 15th?
Next month.
Yes, it's on that Tuesday.
Okay.
So it'd still be in the proposal stage.
Oh, they're voting on it. It's in the proposal stage now till the vote.
It is, but it's constantly being worked on.
Okay.
The method of collecting the money, the amount of money, and the length of time, and other factors. It's a work in progress right now, but it's coming to conclusion.
So you'd view that as still in the proposal stage?
It is still in proposal stage until the day it's voted on.
Right.
I talked to Andy Glenn. He said that he asked the county to withhold the vote till April 15th, that week. So on their meeting, which I think is the 11th or 12th of that week, that's when they're going to vote on it.
Of April.
Yes.
Is there a scheduled public input at the county level then?
I had a hearing about that last month. I don't know if they're going to do another one or not.
I'm not sure how many more hearings they have, if they have any more, but we could find that out.
if you call the county, if you can call the county and they can answer your questions on that. If the trustees would like, for our next meeting, we could have somebody in the Stormwater Coalition representative come out here and address the issue.
Annie Levine's on the Stormwater Coalition right there.
Does she want to address the issue? I mean, would you like to?
I guess my thing is every time I go online and I look what's on the agenda, and it's not in there and it's added to, I got my stuff in the car. And some of this, what you're throwing out there is incorrect, okay, on some of these figures. First of all, right now, because...
Penny, could you come on?
Okay.
And this is, we can put this as an item on the next agenda.
I think it's a good idea.
And we'll make sure we do it.
We better before they vote on it and send something to it.
Well, while she's coming up, this is Lucas County Stormwater, does this have anything to do with, in conjunction with what the city of Toledo now charges me for a building I have with water runoff?
No, because that is Toledo, and they're a separate entity, and they have to comply with the EPA. This is going to be a preventive measure, another section of the government in the engineer's office.
Yeah, it needs to be on the agenda, not an add-on at the last minute.
No, it's just us in the stormwater district.
Okay.
That'll be in the stormwater and the floodplain areas.
Hi, Neil.
You want to go get your stuff out of the car?
No, I've got it all up here. I've worked on this for 3 years. First of all, this all came about, as you probably know, most of you that live in the township, anybody west of Centennial, is because that area plus Cobblestone was always inundated with water. Unfortunately, township didn't do anything. They didn't have the money or whatever, and plus there was blame of responsibility, and the county did likewise. So some of the residents are here and business owners. We took, needless to say, our complaints to the county, to their engineers, to their attorneys, and to the commissioners to say, listen, somebody's got to do something, because in 2006, the area, and I'm sure you heard all about Wolfinger with the school and all that kind of stuff, plus other locations, including Timberstone, Holt Road, Central being shut down 2 to 3 times a year for 2 and 3 days at a time. And the last 3 and 4 years were the worst floods that anybody had seen in 40 to 50 years. Why? Number one, we've never done anything about our creeks and the tributaries that dump into it. I mean, it's pretty bad, even though it's a golf course, but he is a business owner out there on Central when your golf course is 6 to 8 feet underwater. Business owners, same thing. And the last 2 years, last year was good because in '09, some of that work started to be done through the township for $50,000 through the roads department, which unfortunately shorted their budget. But that was a last-ditch effort with some reasons, but we were glad that it happened because that's what we were screaming about all along, is cleaning out some of those blockages that just keep building and building and building. And some were 15 feet high, and there were more than 20 of them throughout our section of the 10 Mile Creek. When Fulton County cleaned out and retiled, a beautiful job, that water then came faster and a lot more of it, and then it came to the stopper in a bathtub called Sylvania Township. That water did nowhere to go, all it did was dissipate. Therefore, that's why everybody was treading water. And the really bad one, the last one, literally had cars floating down the road, water coming in the back door of a house and rushing out the front. You felt like you were in a tsunami. But it was very bad, damage, losses, that kind of thing. And some people don't have mortgages because they've lived here 40, 50, 60 years. Therefore, they aren't required to take out flood insurance, but also then each time 2 to 3 times a year, because they don't have anything to fall back on because it is so costly to then take out flood insurance, they wound up out of pocket, let alone the energy and everything involved. So we went to the county and said, listen, something has got to be done. That's when they formed the Stormwater Advisory Committee, which consists of several townships in the area that do not have a stormwater district at this time. Toledo has one, Sylvania City has one, but everyone else was left with do it on your own or nothing gets done. Also, too, the reason why county also, too, wasn't doing anything is because of all of the mandates and all of the requirements and restrictions that are put on through the EPA. They now, if they do not do anything, as of May, will start being fined $25,000 a day The county will. Okay, $25,000 a day through the EPA. EPA's big thing is quality of the water. And face it, we do not have great quality that gets dumped into our streams and into our 10-Mile Creek. Everybody's had a blind eye to that. So that is the EPA's big thing. Our fight is quantity, because we have too much of it in this area. And yes, we live in the Black Swamp area, but we live here. So now we have to deal with it, and we've got to do something about it. Do I want to pay more taxes? No. So what it wound up is, I call it the Taco Bell menu. A bunch of us from these different townships got together, along with engineers, also EPA, commissioners, attorneys, you name it, and figured out how could they attack it. Now, we have only... Our voice is to give them what has happened, what we feel, and what we would like to see. They then take that, they formulate it with these professionals, and then they came back with a plan. And it's a tight plan. It really is. We're not going to get shored up areas on our sides of the 10-mile, which unfortunately we need, because more trees have fallen in because of erosion, because they're sandy areas. And I take pictures of this stuff all the time and walk the creek. The thing of it is we need a way in order to fight this, maintain it, so that these blockages don't keep building up, which we have some more building now since '09. And this will also give the opportunity so that each area is hit. Now, there is a 5-year plan on that. They know the 10-Mile Creek. We have screamed the loudest, okay? We have proven our case. They need 1 year in order to get all of this in place. If they, downtown, who has the vote to vote this in order to enact this tax, which they're still trying to figure out too, how they will implement that, because usually somebody has it on their water or on their sewer, that kind of thing. Well, there's areas in the township that don't have county water or city water. They have well, and a great many also have, unless you're in a subdivision, have septic tanks. So they've got to figure out how legally they can build this out. Now, for 5,500 square feet of what they call impervious space, impervious meaning water cannot drain through it. So say it's the first floor of your home, your dwelling.
Penny?
Yes.
I think we need to get back on
We do. There's so much to this.
But this is way bigger than our meeting.
Exactly.
And I appreciate all the time and energy you
But that's
spend
$4
on this thing.
a month. It's $4 a month for the 5,500. It's a
And we will have somebody
And
from the
I would
cover
like
next
somebody to
meeting,
come.
yes.
I have asked Pete Gerken and Keith Earlian and themselves, and they said this is already over 3 years, been in the paper. There have been, meetings, that kind of thing, where they had in Springfield and all over. And I had asked for that, and did anyone contact you yet? Because they were supposed to sit down with the trustees.
Contacted.
Okay. I'll put a candle on
I'm
the
putting
cushion.
it on John's shoulders, and I'm sure that someone will be here. I like having his connections to the county.
Okay, yeah, so Pete Gerken sits on that, stormwater. But there's a lot of misconceptions,
Well, it's still in proposal
It's
stage,
still in
so
proposal
I don't wanna
stage.
start
Exactly.
criticizing something that
I
isn't.
think you're putting the cart before the horse on panic. I can say that something will come down the road, but exactly what, when, and also, like I said, we have been the squeakier wheel, and they have already sat down with me and discussed how this plan of attack will take place. But things do change, that kind of thing, as we know, and they need to speak with you, and if you need to call a meeting with definite graphs, their information, because I have all that PowerPoint. I sat with Greg and Carol last year and went over everything. So I think you need some good information.
We will definitely, and
Okay, thanks.
thanks for Greg for clearing out our ditches and the 10-Mile Creek. I mean, it has alleviated our problems, but it definitely is something we need to look at from a regional approach.
Right. We clean our creek out, and the person south of us doesn't, it just backs up. But what I'll do, after hearing the trustees speak, is I will contact whoever I can get. I'll start at the top and work down, and we'll have it for the next agenda. We'll actually have an agenda item, and if Penny wants to come in here with her PowerPoint, and whoever wants to discuss it from the stormwater.
Well, they're
coalition.
going through it now, and I'm working with them with the three townships.
I'll send it to you. Okay, John, so you
All right.
And there's an additional dollar for the EPA in compliance, so that's where the $5 a month comes in.
Okay, on to the fire
Fire.
department.
John is filling in for Chief Kowalski.
I'm here to present the monthly report for February on behalf of Chief Kowalski. Was unable to be here with us tonight due to the loss of a real close colleague. Tom Phelps passed away on Friday at the age of 57. Served Sylvania Township Fire Department for about 22 years. And the funeral was today. The monthly highlights, you can see the calls for service, the fire and EMS for February 2011 are up nearly 50 from last year. That can be directly attributed to the ice storm over the President's Day weekend. The commercial building inspection program will resume. The updated manuals were sent out to all the stations about a week ago, so we should start seeing some of the figures in that, captured in that, starting with next month's report. We did have 15 project plan reviews in the fire prevention. The fire and rescue responses, one of the highlights was a house fire in the 5700 block of Bonzels Parkway on Tuesday, February 15th. The fire was confined to the second floor. There were no injuries, no civilian injuries, and no firefighter injuries. We did have a total of 5 structure fires during the 24-hour period from February 20th to February 21st, with 58 total calls for service in a 24-hour period. We would like to acknowledge the help of the police department and acknowledge the outstanding job that the dispatchers did during that 24-hour period, answering probably close to 200 calls.
Nice job, everybody.
Great job.
The rest of the responses, we did receive a lot of mutual aid responses from Springfield Township, Toledo, during that time as well. We do partner with them, and we answer calls and requests for service when they're in need of assistance as well. We had 2 public education events this month. Chief Kowalski did a fire safety talk at Olivet Christian Nursery School, and Lucas County's continuing education for our EMT paramedics resumed. We had 160 training hours with our paramedics. We do have, at the end, we do have a couple of thank you notes we received, one from Olivet, one from Mr. David Long from Section Road on behalf of an emergency that we responded to on Grenlock, and from Dr. Todd Brookins, who's our EMS director, for a job well done on a rescue incident that we are extremely aggressive in our EMS protocols. So he wished to acknowledge that. That's it for the monthly report. Anybody have any questions?
Looks good.
Thank you. Nice work.
All right.
Nice job.
All right, thank you.
Now back to the police department. We've already done the commendations, so we'll have the chief talk his monthly report.
Good evening. I'd like to present the monthly report for February for the police department. I'll try to keep this pretty brief. Dispatch calls for service, we had 1,366 calls for police, 391 for fire, and 1,099 for 911 calls. We wrote 119 citations during the month. You can see that we had 58 property accident reports, 10 injury accident reports. You can see the breakdown of the different crimes. Of note is probably the burglaries and the robbery, which I'll talk about in a minute here. We had 6 burglaries and 1 robbery. Total number of reports were 196 for the month. We had 47 cases assigned to our detectives. 16 were cleared for February, 31 remain active. We cleared an additional 31 cases from prior months for a total clearance of 47 cases during the month. I can tell you that our officer in the DEA, assigned to the DEA task force, remains very busy. We've opened, or they opened 7 new cases in the month of February. We continue to reap funds from their seizures in that. I'm happy to report not a whole lot this past month was identified in the township, but that comes and goes each month. Community affairs, we have an officer that is currently teaching in Timberstone, Dare in Timberstone and Arbor Hills at the 2 middle schools that lie within the township. He also has been very active in SCAT, attending the meetings and organizing the 24-hour challenge this May and such. Of note, we've got another drug drop-off called the American Medicine Chest Drug Drop-Off that's going to take place this Saturday. And then we will be represented by all 3 community affairs officers at the Sylvania Area Business Expo that's held at Tam O'Shanter annually. The date for that this year is March 26th. Our SWAT team, SRT team, trained at Westgate Chapel this past, February 15th. And they had a very good experience. What we try to do with the SWAT team is to get them in different buildings that are pretty good size to learn the layout of the building in case there should ever be an emergency there. And it provides a lot of unique opportunities because each building presents its own challenges as far as entry and safekeeping and that sort of thing, especially related to like an active shooter type situation. Our other DARE officer is currently teaching in Stranahan and conducting seatbelt programs in all the township elementary schools. You have before you a property room and forfeiture report for February and a Sylvania Municipal Court revenue report that you can see what we're taking in. Our fugitive, our officer in the FBI Violent Fugitive Task Force continues to be very busy. He's been very instrumental in assisting with actually the apprehension of several suspects that were involved in that robbery of the Shell station at the corner of Monroe and Whiteford back on February 19th. Just this past 2 days ago, I will tell you that we are going to be conducting what we call core training in the spring here. I'd identified at an earlier meeting that even though as a department we actually shoot very well, we're going to be increasing our firearms training. We're going to devote a complete day. That's outside qualifications. We're going to be devoting a complete day to that, and then a complete day to the other things that we wear on our belt that we need to be certified each year, such as the TASER, the ASP, the OC, and that sort of thing. So that'll be 16 hours of training we're conducting this next month. And then lastly, I'd just like to mention a couple of nice notes. We got a thank you letter from a resident on Carytown. Basically, they suffered a burglary, and she writes, my daughter and I want to thank you and the other 3 officers. I'll identify the officers in this case. It was Officer Steinman, Officer Case, Officer Miller, and Sergeant McKinney for taking care of my daughter yesterday and for being so kind with the burglary crisis that they had suffered. Despite this event, I have always respected the care, concern, and response time of the Sylvania Township Police Department. Please keep up the excellent job. So that's nice. And it is. And then this past Saturday, accolades to Sergeant Colwell. I don't know if you saw the article, but there were 11 robberies, aggravated robberies involving use of firearms, and 1 in the township that have occurred over the past 2 months. Sergeant Colwell started piecing together information, comparing our robbery to the 11 that had occurred in Toledo, and through contacts with Toledo police and such, they were able to apprehend 6 different people that were involved in these string of robberies. And it was noted in the paper, they quoted a Sergeant Noble, with Toledo Police, but Sergeant Colwell did an excellent job in helping to put that together, and that's where our officer assigned to the FBI Fugitive Task Force is instrumental. We continue to lean on that task force as far as going out and rounding up these guys once we identify them. So it's a great help.
Hey, Rob, who keeps the monies on that 19,970?
We get about 15% of it.
Okay.
There's other departments that have officers assigned to that DA task force, and so we end up keeping about 15% of it. So, and just recently, also through another arrest, actually this wasn't related to the officer assigned to the DA task force, but we were able to seize, it's a little bit older, a Ford Taurus, but it's in excellent condition, and you know, it's another car for our fleet that we can use for a number of purposes within the department. Buying one less car that way. Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks.
Next item is the administrator. We've already taken care of the items 9 and 10. Resolution number 11 is authorizing the administrator, myself, to execute any and all documents for the purchase or sale of township properties. This is a, what I call a blanket resolution allowing me, once the township authorizes the purchase or sale of property, to sign the necessary documents at closing. As you know, next Tuesday, after a long journey of zoning and taking care of the property at Whiteford and Monroe, old fire station number 3, we will actually have the closing next Tuesday, where they will actually be handing us a check. And this resolution authorizes me to sign the necessary documents at closing.
I would like to offer Resolution 11-047, authorizing our Administrator, John Zeitler, to execute documents for purchase or sale of township properties.
I'll second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the fiscal officer. Mr. Simcoe will take care of item number 12. Mr. Beck, our finance person, is off ill today, and I will be filling in for him on the rest of the resolutions.
Mr. Simcoe, are the financial statements available online?
They are available online, and we are very early in the year, and so rather than try to read through them, and since we have a long meeting, they're available online, though, for anyone to see them.
Can we tell people where to find them online?
Online.
Under the fiscal tab?
Under the fiscal tab,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. We are trying to improve our communications here as a board, so.
Well, I can mention one other quick thing, that our private auditors, we're audited, the state auditor contracts with Weber and O'Brien. They bid on it, and their bid was accepted. And they were auditing for 2008 and 2009. And we've received from them a clean audit for our books for 08 and 09. It's not a public document yet. That's their recommendation to the state auditor. It goes down to the state auditor, and it takes a little while for the state auditor to review it and make sure they're comfortable with, our auditor's findings. And then eventually we'll get it back, and that'll be available for public review too. But it was a good, a clean audit for us.
It gave us an unqualified opinion, which is the highest that an entity can get as far as their audit. And
that's true.
And as far as Dave was saying, with the document itself is not a public document until the state auditor releases it. That's by ORC. So even though we have a draft copy of it, it's not a public document at this point.
Okay. So we're pleased with that. So
yeah.
Might take a little longer to get approved with the new state budget too, so we might be waiting a little.
I actually had a discussion, and normally they try to turn it around in 2 to 3 weeks, and right now they're running 5 to 6 weeks. And I think it's part of the new staff and everything, and so, but it will come.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is resolution number 11-048, payment of a then announced certificate. What this basically is our system is a purchase order based system, and we have 3 items that we had to pay before the actual purchase order was issued. This resolution permits us to, what they call a then and now purchase order certificate, which is actually issuing the certificate after the payment has been made. It is authorized by the Ohio Revised Code.
I don't like the idea that they're bottled up together.
Pardon me?
You got one for Sylvania Area Community Improvement, bottled up with Delta Dental and the Department of Job and Family. I think that the Sylvania Area Community should have been a separate one.
Well, that payment was authorized by resolution last meeting.
I know, but I just think that it shouldn't have been.
Well, if you want, we can,
Didn't we authorize that in the last resolution? Why do we have to have it on a then and now certificate?
Just for the release of the money,
the
now and then.
the resolution authorized the payment of it, now we're issuing the
I
purchase
don't like it
order.
done this way.
I'd like to offer Resolution 11-048 to approve a payment of a then and now certificate that would include $6,000 to the Sylvania Area Community Improvement Corporation, $5,477.02 to Delta Dental, and $5,180.86 to the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
The next resolution, 11-049, is the appropriation from the unencumbered balance. We have three funds that we are making appropriations to that we have been given notice that we have unemployment payments to make to the state of Ohio in the amount of $9,750 for the general fund, $2,866 for the police fund, and $8,993 for the fire fund. This appropriation comes from the unappropriated balance in those funds.
Offer resolution 11-049 to pay the money to the unemployment fund, unemployment balance.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Our next item is the resolution 11-050. This is transfer of appropriations. Use a generic term that this is like a house cleaning resolution. All these appropriations are transferred between line items within the same fund, so the money does not leave that fund. And they're just, in our budget, we either under-appropriated or over-appropriated in certain line items, and we're just moving the appropriations within those line items. For instance, if you look at the last one, the temporary employees administration, we're moving $9,500 into that, and we're moving $9,500 out of the regular salary line item because we have a temporary help here.
Offer resolution 11-50, transfer of appropriations.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
My next item is resolution 11-051, transfer of funds. We originally received money that we originally was marked as training donations that was placed in the police grant fund. On further review of that, it was determined that they really weren't training donations, but they were reimbursement of expenses in the police fund. So what we're doing is we're transferring the money out of the police grant fund back into the police fund where it properly belongs.
Make a motion on resolution 1151, transfer of funds.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
My last resolution is 11-052, and this is a resolution advance back of funds. And basically what this is the trustees back in August of 2010 and December of 2010 advanced money to the EMS grant fund. What this is what they call a reimbursement basis. We have to spend the money before we actually get the money back for the grant. So we advanced money to those funds so we could spend it, put in for reimbursement. The reimbursement came in, and so now we are paying back the original funds, the money that we advanced to them. I hope that made sense.
It's a long way around the barn, but I will offer resolution 11-052, the advance back of funds.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
We are now to the open discussion. Mr. Simcoe, is anybody signed in for just the open?
That would be the hearing of the public, open discussions about us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Any open discussion amongst the trustees?
No. Hearing of the public?
Pardon, Dick? No, Dick says no.
R.G. Kappas? Carol Lindhuber?
I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the three trustees and Mr. Zeitler and Mr. DeWitt for your attendance at the Riga Township hearing last week. I think that was especially noteworthy because I know that you had an all-day meeting, a planning session, and you put forth the effort to all of you go up there. And I think that what you had to say was very productive. Mr. Genowine, your remarks were especially worthy, and from what I hear, the feedback, Riga Township is looking at an overlay district now, as Mr. DeWitt mentioned. They're going to have, they're looking at a buffer along the state line and also around the town of Riga. So I think it was very important that you went, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, our pleasure. Beth Yeager?
Sure. Sure.
I am here on behalf of some local rescue groups asking that you consider banning the retail sale of cats and dogs in pet stores. AKC certified reputable breeders will not allow their dogs to be sold in pet stores. You go into a pet store, they will tell you they are AKC certified. Most of these dogs come from puppy mills. A puppy mill is defined as a large-scale commercial dog breeding operation where profit is given priority over the well-being of the dogs. Breeding at puppy mills is performed without consideration of genetic quality. This results in generations of dogs with unchecked hereditary defects. Puppy mill puppies are typically sold to pet shops, usually through a broker or a middleman, and marketed as young as 8 weeks of age. It turns my stomach, I'll be honest, to know that we have hundreds of healthy, happy, young, old, mixed breeds, pure breed dogs sitting in local shelters. And Sylvania Township / Sylvania allows a pet store to come in that sells cats and or dogs. And we just want to ask that you ban the retail sale of these cats and dogs. These puppies from brokers will have all kinds of health issues. Other cities that have passed this ban include West Hollywood, California, passed February 2011. Salt Lake, Tahoe, California, 2009. Austin, Texas. Lake Worth, Florida. Richmond, a suburb of Vancouver, Canada. And in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which was passed in 2006. Euthanasia rates at city shelters in Albuquerque have gone down 35%. Adoption rates have gone up 23%. So banning the retail sale of cats and dogs can only benefit the community and its animals. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia Guti?
I'm going to pass. I'm mainly here to support Beth and Terry.
Okay. Terry Miller?
Can I give you some leadership?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
My name's Terry Miller. I'm here to kind of piggyback on what Beth Yeager is talking about. It's the point we're trying to make is that thousands of dogs and cats every day are killed in shelters and animal rescue, dog warden, city pound. Just to give you an idea, in 2007, 16,000 dogs per day were killed. Those are the most recent statistics I could find. 45 cats are killed for every person born in the United States. These animals in shelters and in rescue organizations are vetted, they're spayed, they're neutered, they have their shots. They're not adopted out if they're not healthy. And when you buy from a pet store, you are buying an animal that is not spayed or neutered. It has not been vaccinated fully. It may have its first set of shots, but you also don't know what diseases, what health issues it may have down the road. Dogs that are sold in pet stores, cats that are sold in pet stores for profit are just that. The parents of these animals are bred in kennels. They never leave the kennels. They're bred repeatedly until they're no good anymore, and these animals are bred specifically for profit. Sylvania and Toledo both have pet stores that are selling these animals for profit. And we really want to raise awareness to everybody that there are so many animals put to death every day. 4 to 6 million in 2007 were killed because no one adopted them. Meanwhile, animals that are not spayed, not neutered, not vaccinated are being sold for $300, $400, up to $1,200, $1,500 from specialty breeders. The Humane Society of the United States has done studies on this, and 1/3 of the dogs that are bought from specialty breeders end up in a shelter within 2 years. Because they're really cute and fun when you first get them, then they grow up, and that cute stuff like chewing on the slippers isn't so funny anymore when they chew up $300 shoes, the dogs in the shelter. Please consider adopting, and please, we really would like you to put a ban on the retail sale of dogs. It betters the community. It costs money for the dog warden to have to kill dogs. It costs money for local rescue groups to have to go out, solicit, try to find money to take care of these animals that are perfectly viable, perfectly healthy, wonderful companion animals when animals are being sold right around the corner. Thank you for your time and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. W. Schultz. Jeff Creaky.
Okay.
Penny?
Carolyn Hoover said it all for me. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Okay.
Miracle. Just a word to you, ladies, we don't have the ability to pass a resolution to do that. We're not a
Is
city.
it something that could be like a ballot initiative? If we got enough signatures from the community that could
I'll
be
have
put
to,
on
well, we could talk to the prosecutor about that and see, but I don't know what we could possibly do as a township. That's all. We're not a city. We don't have the authority to do something like that.
Thank you for letting us raise
That's no
awareness.
problem, and we're really concerned, but, you know, we have
Thank
to
you.
ask the prosecutor what our limitations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to offer a motion to go into executive session, or do I close the public meeting first or just go into?
No.
Okay. I'd like to offer a motion to go into executive session at 8:19 to discuss personnel matter as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121-22, letter G, number 1.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
And Mr. Dunaway?
Yes.